And hello and welcome, my name is Martin, and today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating an enemy character that has a health bar that reacts when it gets shot by the first-person projectiles, and when the enemy character respawns, the health bar returns and is active again. And the other caveat that we're going to add to this also is the fact that we're going to make it to where the enemy character also changes its material out, its outer material, to reflect how many times it's been hit. Okay, so let me show you an example of what this looks like, and then we'll get into working on it. So there's my enemy character. You can see that that is the health bar for the enemy character. Let me walk towards it. That's it. And we're going to go ahead and shoot once. We see that we get the string up in the top. Shoot again. And the way that I've programmed this is each one of the shots are doing 10 points of damage to this enemy character, and the total that you have on the health is 100 points. So, and then the color changing is happening every 20 steps. So every 2 shots it'll change colors. So we've got the health bar with 20% less, and the character now has changed once. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Enemy character explodes. We'll wait for it to respawn. There it is. We'll 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. And this will happen indefinitely. We'll just do one more enemy character just to show you that it is continuing to do so. And okay, so let's show you how to be able to make this guy real quick. So you will, oops, cancel. You will need to be working from the explosion enemy character. So we're going to go back to content. We're going to go back to enemy, let's see, content, enemy 2s. Okay, so I don't have an exploding character here, which is fine. We'll just make one real quick. Okay, so what we'll need to do is, let me see, not that one, enemy 2, and let's delete that. Okay, so I've created a new folder. Inside that folder it's blank. What I'm going to do now is right click, go to blueprint class, create a pawn. We're going to call this, in my case I'm going to call it cone 3. Yeah, cone 3 underscore enemy. Okay, so now we have the cone. We'll double click to open it up. In here we'll need 2 components, so we'll need to add a static mesh. Okay, in that static mesh we will go ahead and, let's say, look for the word cone. There's cone. Alright, so now we have a cone, and from there we will also need a widget. So we'll type in here widget, and it's going to be the widget underneath user interface, not the bottom one, but just the one labeled widget. Okay, now from there, the other thing that we're also going to need to do is create a couple of variables. So we need a full health variable, we need a current health variable, we also need an isActive variable, which will be a boolean, and I believe that's it for this character. So let's go ahead and create those. So we're going to go to variable. It comes in as a boolean, so we'll go ahead and write this one as isActive. And since I've already got a couple of these, underscore cone 3, so that way I know that it's the correct variable. And then we need a couple of floats. And let's rename this cone 3 underscore current health. Another one, cone 3 underscore full health. And let me just make them look the same. Okay, so now we have all the variables we need. Let's go ahead and hit compile. For the is active, we want to make sure that that is checked. For the current health, we want to add 100. And for the full health, we also want to add 100. Oops. Now, before we leave this character, we do need to set up a box collision set, and this will also work with our first-person projectiles. So, let's go to add component. Let's add a box collision. Okay. Adjust the box collision so that it's around the character. Some type of measurable way. Okay, and let's go ahead and hit compile. Now from here we will have to come back because there are going to be a couple of things that we're going to need to set with this, especially with the widget. But first let's go and create our widget. So I'm going to go back here to the content folder where I've got my enemy class, or my pawn enemy. We're going to hit save. Just so that everything's saved. Now I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to user interface, and the very last one at the bottom is called widget blueprint. So we'll create one of those, and we'll call this cone 3 underscore health bar. Okay. Once that's there, we'll hit save all. We'll go ahead and open up the health bar. We'll need to grab a progress bar, put it on the screen somewhere. Again, don't make this thing super big, because remember it's just going to need to hover right over your main character. From there, the other thing I did do was put the anchor point straight to the center, so then that way it's always over the character, not to the right or to the left of the character. It'll always be over the character. And then from here, I'm going to put the percentage up to 1 so that the percentage is full, and we now need to create our binding. Now, with this, with the binding, we are going to need to create another variable. That variable is going to be a reference back to the cone enemy 3, and this is going to make sure that it always is able to attach to that enemy character. So we're going to create a new variable. From here, what we want to do is click on variable type and go up there to the top and type in cone 3 or whatever the name of your enemy character is. And that's what we'll do. And so you'll see that it comes in with a little pawn there. I'm going to go ahead and call this variable the owner. So it's going to be whoever owns this variable. And it'll just be easier when we write the code to understand that that's what we're doing. All right, so from here we are in the binding. We're going to pull this apart a little bit. The thing that we will need to do is grab the owner, put it out on the floor, get the owner, and then from there what we'll need to do is get the two variables that are associated with that owner. Now remember that the owner is enemy character 3, so when we drag out of this we should be able to get its current health. And remember that to make the bar work we have to do a get the current health and divide it by the full health. So we'll pull again from here, type in full health, so get cone full health. Oh, not set it, just get it. So get full health. And again, we need to divide, so this is going to be float divided by float. And we'll add that to the return node. Okay, so from this side, that's all we really need to do. It looks very similar to what we did with our first person's health. The only difference obviously here is that instead of casting it to something, we are calling in a reference variable, and this should allow us to be able to apply that to the character, to the health bar. So from here, we'll go ahead and hit compile. So now our health bar is correct and working the way it needs to. And the only thing we need to do is go back into our enemy character, and we actually need to call in this widget and set the widget to this. So let's go ahead and do that in our well, what we're doing is we're casting every time we get hit to that health bar. So then that way it keeps resetting the health bar. So let's go back to our enemy character. Let's go back to event graph. We are going to get the event begin play. So we'll grab event begin play. And here what we're going to need to do is, let's see. We are going to cast to enemy health bar. So cast to cone 3 health bar. We are going to get an instance of the widget. We are then going to need to use the get user widget object. There it is. And then we'll attach that to the object up there. Okay. From here, what we'll need to do is set this value. So we'll need to pull off of here and type in set is owner. The owner is going to be self. So get a self reference, the whoever it is that's actually using it. And then from there, we'll connect this. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that's it for here. Okay. And the only and last thing that we need to do is go back into our enemy health character. So the cone 3, go to widget, and inside of widget, we need to do a little bit of things with the interface, or with the HUD, with the widget. So the first thing is that we will set this to screen. That'll make sure that it hangs around the object as opposed to just being up, like for our health bar, that this will stay over the health bar with the character. And then the other thing we need to do is tell it which widget we want to call in, right? So here we should have cone 3 health bar, and then from there we should be done. So we should go ahead and hit compile, and we'll hit save. And let's go ahead and put one of these out on the floor and see if this works now. So that's the old one. This is going to be the new one. Let's go ahead and push play. There's the new one over there. Collision settings. So the one thing that we didn't do was we didn't go into this enemy character and set up the damage system. So it is at this point not receiving damage, even though it might be sending stuff to the health bar, but since the damage isn't being tallied, we're not getting a response on it. So what we need to do is, all right, so what we'll do is we'll get an instance of the current health, set it, then we'll need another instance of the current health, get it, and from here we'll go ahead and do our math. So any damage comes in, it will be set to the new damage, and we will need to apply this. So this is going to be float minus float. We'll go there, and then the damage coming in will be there. Fantastic. So now we have the ability to be able to accept damage. And I believe the only thing we didn't do is actually set our collision settings correctly. So I'm going back to my box collision for the cone. I'm going to set this to, I actually have it to enemy FFP box. And basically what this is doing is it's ignoring everything. It's setting it to an overlap only with the first person projectile. And then from there, I have this thing labeled as enemy FFP, and then it is allowing for an overlap event to happen. So let's go ahead and hit compile and save. Let's now see where our new enemy is, and let's actually point in that direction. So it's going to be the one on the right. So let's go ahead and push play. Okay, so the other thing that we're going to have to do is to apply the damage, to get the damage to actually be applied, is we have to apply the damage using the first person projectile, and that's the last, well, that's part of this. So now let's go ahead and go into first person projectile, and I've already done the work here because I was a little concerned that it wasn't going to work, because I've already got one that's called Cast to Cone, right? So I didn't want to lose the ability to get that one to work, but I also wanted to apply damage to the new object. So what I did was we create, of course, with the collision component around my first person, around the ball, right? So around my first person ball, there's already a collision setting, so component collision. With that selected, we created a begin overlap. From there, I created a sequence, and from the sequence, that's where I'm putting in the cast to, right? So each new character that, you know, if you have multiple characters that are going to have damage applied from the first person projectile, the next one will be here. You'll type in cast to whatever the name of that enemy character is. You'll attach the actor to that object. And the only thing I'm doing here is adding a couple of extra points and just cleaning up the lines, so then that way they're not like all on top of each other. Say something like this. Sorry, my computer's brain farting. Oh, but that's the other computer. Okay, that's fine. So once we've got that set up, the next thing obviously would be off of here. You'll click and drag out. You'll type in apply damage, and you'll put in the amount of damage that you want. And then from there, you'll make sure that both nodes are attached, right? So I've got 10 points of damage for each one of these. Now, the other thing that we also want to do before we go here is that we want well, actually not here. In the cone enemy, is that once its life gets to 0, then we need it to explode, right? So we're going to take the same information from our exploding mine character and put that into our enemy, our cone enemy, right? So we're going to do this off of a tick, and this way it'll be constantly checking for that situation, right? So I'm going to go here and type in event tick. Okay. From there, we need to create a branch condition because we need to know whether we are whether we're at 0%, right? So we need to type in if. So we get our branch, and then we need to find if current health. So we'll grab a instance of current health. So get current health. If this is equal to or less, if this is less than 1. So we're going to type in float less than. We're going to put the number 1 in there because we're not hitting it with anything less than 10 points apiece. So that's that. Now, the other thing that I also do here is we run into this problem where when we explode the character, we keep getting a repetition of the explosion sound from the variable that we're going to create from the explosion variable. So the other thing, that's where this is going to come in play, the isActiveCone, and we're going to put that in there. And now we need to get an instance of it, and we need to know whether this is set. If it is set and both of these conditions are met, then we'll go into the exploding process. If not, then we are not going to explode, right? Let me just clean these up so they look a little nicer. Now the problem is obviously that that this needs they need to be connected, so I need an AND boolean. So I'm just going to right click, type in AND. There's the AND boolean under math, and so now we're saying if this condition, current health is less than 1, and isActive is there, then we want this to explode, right? So we're going to go to the true. We're going to type in spawn actor from class. Here we're going to look for the explosion sprite. So effect explosion. We need to get where this is right now where the current position of the mesh is. So get world location for the static mesh. Okay. And then from there, of course, with this, because it's a new variable, it's a new actor that's popped in, we're going to convert this or promote it to a variable. We will call this cone3 expo explosion, cone3 underscore explosion. Okay. Then we are going to select that variable, scroll down to its events on destroyed. And we want a destroy actor. And we connect the target. Okay, so this gets us to where we explode. Now, obviously, what we'll need to do with this is once we've exploded, this is part of what will make us explode. We also need to get rid of, just like we did in the stationary mine, any additional things that are left over. So the box collision, the static, and this. So we're going to type in another sequence. Again, let me move some of this stuff over a bit. Okay. Then here we're going to destroy components. At this point, it doesn't matter which one you grab. We'll grab the other ones that we need. So we have destroy component. Right now it's got just the box. We'll grab the static mesh. Sure that it is gone, and we'll grab the widget and make sure that it is gone. And right click, alignment, and let's make this to the left. There we go. Okay, so that looks pretty. All right, and then the last thing that we want to do with this is we want to respawn, right? So if we're going to be doing the respawn, let me again grab all of this stuff and move it over a bit. Then we're going to need another node off of our sequence. So we'll add one more. We'll create a delay. Okay, let's say 5 seconds, enough time for the enemy character to get away if they needed to. And then we will call in another spawn. So spawn actor from class. What we want to do is here we want to select the cone enemy 3. Okay, as far as spawn location, it can be the same location of where this thing, so you could put in a specific location. So you could right click on this variable, the spawn transform, right click, go to split the pin. That would then split the location, the rotation, and the scale. And if you wanted to take that a step further, you could split the transform into the X, Y, and Z. Now I'm going to right click and recombine the pin, right click, recombine the pin. And since I've already got here a location for where the static mesh was, I can plug that into the formula and it should already have that number there. So it's just going to take wherever that cone was destroyed and respawn it in that location. Now, the only other thing that we need to do is we need to reset. Also here on the destroy cone, we need to get the variable is cone active, set it, and we want to leave this on off. And this is what's going to stop the constant explosion, 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 explosion sound effect that we hear. This was the only way that I was able to get that off. To cause it to, so that when this was destroyed, there was nothing else to re-cause the explosion effect to keep going on. So from there, the last bit of this would be that we need to reset current health to 100%, because remember that the current health would be coming in at whatever it was set to last time, which should be 0. So get current, set current health, and we're going to reset this to 100. And we're going to attach this, and then last thing, we're going to set the value of this. So we're going to go Control C, Control V, so we're getting another one. And we are going to set the value back to is active, because the character is now active again. And this will allow so that when the explosion comes back around, we hear the explosion once. Once the things are destroyed, it's gone, and we don't hear explosion, 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 explosion. So let's go ahead and hit compile. Everything there should be working. And let's go and see if this works now. So let's hit compile, play. Walk over to the other cone. We can see that cone completely destroyed. It's completely gone. Let's see if it registered the new location, and it is not doing a good job of respawning itself. So we will need to get the coordinates of where this cone is, or where we want the cone to respawn. So I'm going to select the cone in the location on the screen where I want it to respawn, right click, copy that information, and then go back to first enemy character, to the enemy character, and in its respawn information here, this obviously did not work. So we'll break that link, and we will right click, split the pin. Let's see if we can paste. No, we'll just split the pin again. Go in here, Control V. This is the X coordinate, so I only need the information for X. Remember to leave any negative numbers there, as otherwise it will spawn in a completely different location. This is the Y value. Oh, Y value is basically 0. And the Z value. No negative number, so we'll knock all that out. And I want to, forgot to get rid of the parentheses. Okay. So now we have the respawning values, and that should now work. So let's hit compile and save. And okay, let's see if that works now, if it respawns in the right location. It did. We shoot it again, it explodes. Shoot it one more time for good measure. Okay, fantastic. So now we have an enemy character that respawns, has a health bar. The health bar is able to be re-engaged each time, and it is hovering around and close to where the character is, right? Now the only other thing would be obviously that those health bars need to maybe only be visible when we're within a certain distance away from the character, which we'll work on the next video only because this one is already so long. So we'll do that and the color changing in the next video. So hope you enjoyed the video and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.